Today I'll be flying a Cessna 172 from the Blairsville airport in the northern part of Georgia to Western Carolina Airport in Andrews, North Carolina. It's a flight of just over 20 nautical miles. I've done this flight numerous times. It's a very scenic, pretty flight. Maybe not as much during the winter time as during other times of the year, but the mountains are pretty to look at really most any time. I do the pre-flight inside the hangar when it's cold, the majority of it anyhow, and then I do the fuel drain and check the oil and so forth once I get it out on the ramp. So I've got the engine started now, and I've made my announcement that I'm about ready to taxi. The winds are favoring runway 8 today at the Blairsville Airport. The Blairsville Airport is basically an east-west single runway. Runway 8, you have the advantage of having an area where you can actually pull off the runway and do your run-up. There are no taxiways at the Blairsville Airport. If you go to runway 26, you do not have a run-up area down there, so you have to do your run-up on the ramp and then back taxi on runway 26 and be ready to depart once you get at the end. So for that reason, I prefer runway 8 because I can do my run-up down there where I can see the final very well from my location and be ready to go. The airplane push-to-talk switch was broke, so on this flight I used my own headset and my portable push-to-talk switch. It seemed like it was working good in the beginning, but when I got over towards the Western Carolina Airport, unicom operator at Blairsville was telling me that my radio sounded very garbled. In a moment I'll make a turn here, and then I'll be holding short of runway 826 at Blairsville, at which point it would be necessary for me to make a left turn back taxiing down runway 8 to the approach end of that runway, and also to where I can do my run-up.
Western Carolina traffic, Cherokee 15994 is about 8 miles to the west, 6,200 transition in the air. Get to the east, Western Carolina.
Blairsville traffic, Cessna 84086 is back taxiing runway 8 to the run-up area, holding short of 8 at the end for Blairsville traffic.
And here we'll increase the video playback in the interest of time.
Traffic, Cessna 84086 is clear of runway 8, holding short.
So I get up here to the hold short line for runway 8 in preparation to start doing my before takeoff checklist. So in a few moments, something interesting happens. There's an experimental that is also leaving the area down there where fuel is purchased to back taxi on runway 8. And I'm holding short. He's back taxiing. I try to communicate with him and he doesn't answer. And in effect, what he ends up doing is not even pulling in behind me. He goes all the way to the end, and I see the passenger look over at me and they just do a 180 and then they depart.
Now for the pre-takeoff checklist. Take this push-to-talk switch off. I'm not going to use it. Cabin doors are closed and latch. Parking brake is set by toe brakes. Controls free right aileron, left aileron. Elevator, rudder. Trim is in takeoff. Flight instruments checked and set. Artificial horizon. DG1 enters. have to jam down with that DG to get it to turn. 3024 was the altimeter last set. No autopilot, fuel selectors in both, mixture's rich. 100 RPM. Right mag, left mag. Carburetor heat. Suction's good. Throttle back to idle. Okay, that's a pre-takeoff checklist. Let me put in.
So now, in just a moment, you'll hear the experimental that's going to back taxi on runway 8. There actually is a little confusion because there's a hesitation before he says runway 8, and then you'll hear in a moment that he actually refers to it as runway 6. It's at this point, when he's back taxiing and I'm trying to talk to him, that I don't think the push to talk switch was working. I was not aware that the switch was bad because I had disconnected my own portable push to talk switch at this point.
Blairsville traffic, experimental 367 Alpha Romeo, taxiing for departure runway. Runway 8, departure runway 8. Blairsville traffic, experimental 367 Alpha Romeo, back taxi for runway 6 departure. Blairsville traffic.
Okay, and this is Cessna 84086 holding short of runway 8, and I see the experimental back taxi. And experimental back taxi, did you copy 84086?
I did edit out a couple minutes of the video as I waited for the experimental to back taxi to the approach into runway 8. Now my expectation was that he was going to turn in behind me, but he didn't do that.
Experimental, are you going to depart right now?
Blairsville traffic, experimental 367 Alpha Romeo departing runway 8.
Okay, the experimental that's departing, how do you hear Cessna 84086?
So there was no communication that I was able to establish with the experimental departing, and I failed to recognize at this point when I was keying with the push-to-talk switch on the yoke whether or not I was actually transmitting.
Blairsville Unicom, Cessna 84086, radio check.
And of course, one of the problems here when I was trying to get a radio check with the Unicom at the Blairsville airport, that radio is not always staffed.
The experimental that just departed, this is Cessna 84086, how to hear me?
Blairsville traffic, experimental 367 Alpha Romeo departing the area to the north. Thank you for your hospitality, Blairsville. Have a good day. Last call.
Blairsville Unicom, Cessna 84086, how to hear me?
Blairsville Unicom, you're coming in just clear. A few minutes ago you were very, very muffled, but you're coming in clear as a bell now.
Okay, Cessna 84086, thank you. I was trying to talk to that experimental that cut in front of me there before I could actually take the runway, and he wouldn't answer me, and I thought maybe I had a radio problem.
Actually, I thought you did because I didn't hear you talking to him, and I think you caught him a little bit by surprise, but I didn't really hear you saying a whole lot.
Okay, but you have me good now, right?
Sorry, what was that?
And you can hear Cessna 84086 okay now?
I hear you just perfectly. Yes, sir. You're working good.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good flight.
Thank you.
So I'm taking the runway now at the Blairsville Airport's runway 8. I'll depart and I'll make a left turn out and go to the north to Western Carolina Airport. At this point, I think that everything's fine with the radio, but as you'll see later, I start running into some more difficulty.
Blairsville traffic, Cessna 84086 is turning left crosswind to depart the pattern to the north. Blairsville traffic.
So here I have sped the video up to 300% just in the interest of time. So here in just a moment, you'll hear me listening to the Western Carolina automated weather observation. It, due to the mountains, doesn't come in real clear initially, but I listened through it a couple times and I'm able to get the information that I need.
Western Carolina unicom, Cessna 84086, radio check. Western Carolina unicom, Cessna 84086, radio check.
I'm not sure they got the radio on, but your radio's loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, sir. This is Cessna 84086.
So in the interest of time, I sped up the video just a little bit until we get to the next significant communication.
Western Carolina Regional Airport. Automated weather observation. 1701 Zulu. Weather. Wind. Calm. Visibility. 10. Clear.
And Western Carolina 32 Quebec has entered a 2-mile final 08.
Traffic inbound to Western Carolina. I understand you're straight in runway 8. I'll be entering a right to downwind in about 2 minutes for runway 8. Out 4 miles south of the airport, Cessna 84086.
This is Blairsville Unicom 84086 Cessna. You're breaking up really, really bad. You can only hear just partial things you're saying.
Okay, Cessna 84086, is that any better?
Western Carolina, this is Piper Cherokee 994, be entering the pattern from the south at 3,000 feet. Any traffic, please advise North Carolina.
The last aircraft calling inbound to Western Carolina. This is Cessna 84086. How do you hear me?
We're about 6 miles to the southeast. Sorry, Cherokee 15994, Western Carolina.
You're breaking up really bad. You can't understand anything you're saying.
Okay, appreciate that report. I'll head back and see if I can get a different headset.
So what's happening here is I'm trying to get a radio check with the Cherokee that's inbound to the Western Carolina airport, and then the unicom operator at Blairsville is talking to me some 20 miles away with mountains between us, and he thinks that my radio is not working well, and I think that initially that he is actually the Cherokee responding to me. Then I realized that in fact it's not the Cherokee, it's the Blairsville unicom operator. But while I was in the air, I didn't know that, and I think that I'm having some kind of radio difficulty. So I start to swap out my headset with another headset that's actually in the airplane.
Western Carolina, this is Piper 994, at about a 3-mile 45 to runway 26, North Carolina.
32 Quebec's on a short final for 26. I'll be on the ground in about 30 seconds.
So here at this point, I'm still in the process of swapping out my headset with the headset that was in the airplane, and also connecting the push-to-talk switch for the headset that was in the airplane. And I was doing this at right about 4,000 feet, and that's why you see the nose of the airplane kind of wobbling a little bit. I had it trimmed up, but I had to take my hands off the yoke just briefly while I did that swap. So I managed to get my headset swapped out with the additional headset that was in the airplane and install the portable push-to-talk switch, and I'm able to continue inbound to the Western Carolina airport, where I did a couple touch and goes, and then after that I was able to return back to the Blairsville airport. But the confusion with all of this was the fact that the unicom operator was hearing me in the air, believing I was closer to Blairsville and that my radio should be working better than it was. In fact, it really shouldn't have been, because I was far enough away from Blairsville that that unicom frequency would not come in clear to those on the ground in Blairsville, but it would come in clear, and was in fact coming in clear to the aircraft in the air, and for my operations there at the Western Carolina airport. So this just goes to show how communications is key, and that communications can be confusing at times. Part of it was me not taking and recognizing that I was actually transmitting and looking at my radio to look at the little TX showing on the display. So in addition, whenever I was swapping out my headset for the other headset that was in the plane, I disconnected the audio cable to my GoPro, which is the reason why in this video all of a sudden you can actually hear the aircraft engine noise and so forth. It's because I did not have my GoPro hooked up to my headset any longer. So here you can see that the Western Carolina airport is just about the 1130 position off the nose of the aircraft, and I'm just about ready to enter a left downwind for runway 26. I'm going to speed the video up a little bit in the interest of time and get me down on the runway. So here I'm established on a left downwind for runway 26 at the Western Carolina airport. The pattern altitude is 2,700. Thank you for watching this video. It certainly was a flight that taught me a lot about communications and some things to look out for. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like this video, and remember, flying allows you to see the world from a higher perspective.